All right, greetings. Welcome back to Blackburn News, where everything is connected. What's going on, people? How are you? Good to see you. Welcome back. You Googled evil? That's good. That's exactly what I meant by the thumbnail. I was hoping that someone would figure it out. And it was you, Kate. You figured it out. You Googled evil and you saw the city of Vancouver's mayor, the park board, along with Harry Potter. That is crazy. The city of Vancouver is using one of the hiking trails in the park to let a corporation put in a Harry Potter experiential. My God, gross. Yuck. I guess that's true, Poppy. Yeah, when your only motive is profit, I guess that's true. If your only motive is profit. I guess there are probably some entities out there whose motive is not just profit, but Howard, please. You know, the welfare of their workers might be part of their motives. Operating sustainably or operating equitably, I don't know. You think there's some companies out there like that? I think there might be. I'm sure there are. Sorry, just trying to get everything in together and impression. I can speak English. I can't. All right, y'all. Well, we have a lot to talk about today. We have so many to talk about. Economically, we are not doing well. Reflect the Sun says occasionally Congress writes strongly worded letters while trading stocks in their chamber. Yes. The ones owned by shareholders. Yes. It's unfortunate that things have gotten so bad. So bad. And they're probably going to get worse. Unfortunately. I wish that wasn't the news that I was given today. But I don't know, it's weird. Some people out there are just functioning like nothing's wrong. Maybe there's a secret to that. Maybe maybe that's a key to something. I have a friend who is a musician. A musician who just bought a house in Los Angeles. So, it's not unheard of. This guy isn't like incredibly famous. He's just a working musician, producer. He's not even a songwriter. He's like he just is a musician. I think he produces music. So, making a living playing music is, a hurdle unto itself. Then he has the wherewithal to buy a house in Los Angeles, which is, everybody knows, is hard for people who are gainfully employed in corporate gigs. It's so bad. You overhear fairly, what seem to be fairly well-off people talking about how hard it is to pay the rent or the mortgage in this town. So he's just flying along like nothing's wrong. It's like, damn the bad news and let's just go forward. Which, I guess is a way to operate. I have another friend who's a musician who's like flying all over the world promoting a record, a really good record. He seems to be doing really well. And, damn the bad news. What's up? We're on live on X and on YouTube and on Rumble and Beauty and the Boomer hanging out with us over on X. Thanks, Beauty and the Boomer. This is funny. Before we get into the damn the torpedoes and screw the negative, what negativity? There's nothing. Everything's pretty good. If you have the mindset, I guess it doesn't really matter. So there you go. There you go. Trump asked Mark Zuckerberg how much money he planned to invest in the coming years in the U.S. Zuckerberg hesitated, then said, at least $600 billion through 2028. Moments later, a hot mic caught Zuckerberg leaning over to Trump and saying, I wasn't sure that was the number you wanted to go with. How about some...
And Mr. Zuckerberg, if you don't mind answering, how concerning is that to you, the lack of freedom of speech online in the UK?
You didn't think you'd get that question. He's looking at me saying, how the hell? He's saying, how did I get that question? If you'd like to answer, free speech.
Sorry, actually, I wasn't paying attention, but sorry, I wasn't aware that you were for announcing.
He said, I wasn't sure what number you wanted to go with.
I thought that was quite a moment.
Quite a moment.
There was a bit of a hot mic moment after a reporter tried to ask him a question. I want everyone to listen to that.
And Mr. Zuckerberg, if you don't mind answering, how concerning is that to you, the lack of freedom of speech online in the UK?
You didn't think you'd get that question. He's looking at me saying, how the hell? He's saying, how did I get that question? If you'd like to answer, free speech.
Sorry, actually, I wasn't paying attention, but sorry, I wasn't aware that you were for announcing.
He said, I wasn't sure what number you wanted to go with.
I thought that was quite a moment.
Quite a moment.
There was a bit of a hot mic moment after a reporter tried to ask him a question. I want everyone.
There we go. So great. You had to watch it 2 times. What an asshat. Indeed. Well, let's look at some of the economic numbers coming out today. There was a jobs report today. That did not spell good times. So we're going to the negativity. We're going back to negativity. Why you got to be so negative? Why? Just in another weak jobs report, the U.S. economy added only 22,000 jobs in August. That's much weaker than expected. Unemployment rate rose to 4.3%, highest since October 2021. June job growth was revised down. Another revision to 13,000. Yikes. July was revised up slightly to 79,000 from 73. Wages grew 3.7% in the past year, above 2.7% inflation. Hardy frickin' har. Wages rose 3.7%, but inflation is only 2.7%. Hardy, that number, that inflation number, is an absolute joke. I know there's all the equations that they, trot out to come up with that number. I don't know whether the wage growth number is probably correct. 3% or something like that. But if you stack it against the real inflation number, which is probably like, if you're looking at real inflation, you're talking about 50, 60, 70% on like literally everything that you buy. I don't know. Well, over the last 3 years, 4 years, I'd say inflation is mainly, over the last few years, it's been around 100%, probably on most things that you buy. In the last year, I don't know. Maybe it's less than that, but it's a lot. So that inflation is 2% number is ridiculous. Because anybody buying anything anywhere, going out to a restaurant or going to the store or something is like, at least everything has risen by 10%. Every single thing that you buy has risen by 10%. Everything I subscribe to has gone up in the last 6 months, right? Every subscription, every streaming platform, every StreamYard has went up 50%. Actually, probably almost. I think closer to doubled. So every single thing has gone up significantly, 10% or more in the last year. But they're saying inflation is 2%. Bullshit. Absolute bullshit. Absolute bullshit. And literally everyone is talking about how crazy it is, how crazy inflation is. Mortgage applications are down 34% from pre-pandemic levels, and it is even worse than 2008. Yeah, who can, I think I was talking about the fact maybe a month ago or so, like housing prices have actually fallen a little bit in LA, which is somewhat unheard of, but you know how much pressure, how much sell pressure there has to be for houses, house prices in LA to go down? A lot. because people can't afford anything, because people are losing their shirts, because realtors and landlords are losing their shirts. If you can't sell anything or rent anything or cover the costs of doing business, then you're going to have to get something going. Poppy says food and energy are consumer staples, meaning demand for them doesn't change as prices rise. Yes. Food and energy prices are exempt when calculating core inflation. Yes. Well, yeah. So that they're exempting the things that are actually impacting people from the calculation. So why would you even look at that number? Why would you even take that number seriously? It's an absolute joke. Food is where you feel it. Yeah, absolutely. Food and gas is where, that's the first line that people feel. And I personally believe that they are doing everything they can to keep gas prices steady, because things are so bad. everywhere else that I feel like if gas prices went up too much higher, especially here in California, you know, if there was a significant jump in gas prices, it would spell absolute doom for the economy. The economy would just absolutely crash. Remember the McDonald's CEO talking about the two-tiered economic society? Let's see. Labor market is far worse than you think. Not only was June's job number negative, but the U.S. economy lost 357,000 full-time jobs in August, and gained almost 600,000 part-time jobs. Millions of Americans are piling into part-time jobs because it's all they can get. Yeah, and when you look at it that way, when you stack those numbers up that way, it's it looks a lot worse. Let's see. Labor market is going from frozen to cracking. Look at how many industries have lost jobs in the past 3 months. Mining, 13,000. Construction, 10,000. Manufacturing, 31,000. Manufacturing. Remember, we were supposed to bring those manufacturing jobs back to the U.S.? Yeah, definitely. Reflect the sun. That is true. Biden was selling off the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. And I think Trump is probably going to have to do it again if things get much worse. My guess is that they're going to have to do that again. Or go invade Venezuela, which it looks like we're trying to do. Yeah, so that part doesn't really make a lot of sense, does it, Bobby? The gas price average was $3.30 a gallon in 2024, same price as in 2008. They have been doing some wang dangling about over the gas prices, keeping the gas prices low. Right? They have really, well, in 2008. Yeah, that sounds about right. I think that's about right. I've talked about this ad nauseum about why the Great Recession happened. A big part of it was the gas prices, which most likely were engineered because we had just, we had invaded Iraq. We had gotten our hands on a bunch of oil. Our president was an oil baron. We should have been swimming in oil in 2006 and 7. Absolutely swimming in oil, and in a way better position to control the price of oil. I think there was something else going on there, but that's just me. Going back to this post, business and professional information lost 15,000 jobs. Business professional 51,000 jobs. Federal government lost 34,000 jobs. One of the largest egg producers, Cal-Maine Foods, reported sales increases of 72% and profit up 203% last quarter. Oh, okay. Yeah, well, if eggs are $8 a dozen, well, that's a really good way to make some money. The only sector, the U.S. job market is almost entirely dependent on healthcare. The only sector that's doing well is private education and health services. Sorry. Currency expert in Canada predicts that the Canadian dollar and the US dollar will be facing some tough times in the future. Foreign exchange expert made a bearish call for the Canadian dollar. We're not structurally bearish in the dollar, but certainly the next few months could see some weaker dollars. Dan Tobin told Bloomberg, more likely what will happen is both the US dollar and the Canadian dollar underperforming everything else. It's probably not a good sign. Hundreds of Arkansas farmers, speaking of inflation and a struggling economy, Denver says, imagine if healthcare by and large equaled the dollar values being extracted from productive investment in other sectors in people's lives, because that's what it is. Yeah. Yeah. Hundreds of Arkansas farmers are begging the federal government for emergency aid as their farm economy collapses. This year hit them with almost every disaster possible, pushing families to the edge of bankruptcy and threatening to wipe out farms that have survived for generations. Hundreds of farmers ask for government assistance at an NEA meeting. This is frightening because, again, we were talking about food and energy prices being, so they're keeping prices at the pump low, but a lot of people are reporting that their cost for keeping the heat or the air conditioning on in their house or the lights on in their house or their appliances running in their house is going sky high. So maybe you're not feeling that at the pump, but you're feeling that every time you get your bill every month. And, that's kind of a huge story that's quietly being talked about. It's not a really loud story, but like I often see people talking about how expensive energy is just to keep the lights on in your house. So have they just transferred the cost to your energy bill instead of, right? They keep the subsidies going for the gas pumps, and the truckers and whatnot, but they just transfer that energy inflation to your energy bill. Let's listen to this. It's pretty frightening.
Almost everything that could go wrong for Arkansas farmers did go wrong this year. And it's so bad that many are facing bankruptcy or even the closure of farms that have been passed down for generations. A dismal global market and plunging commodity prices mean there's little to no hope of breaking even for many farmers, even as sky-high input costs rise because of inflation and now tariffs. Not to mention bad weather earlier in the year.
This time last year, the rice price was about 40% higher than it is now. The inputs costs have gone up. So after a horrible year last year where most farmers in Arkansas Delta lost money, this year's going to be worse.
Though President Trump's big, beautiful bill provided a much-needed update to safety net subsidies for farmers, they won't see those federal dollars until late next year, by which time some have projected that as many as 1/4 or even 1/3 of Arkansas farmers will face bankruptcy or be forced to leave the business amid the crisis the American ag economy is currently in. It's already taken its toll this year.
I'm a sixth-generation farmer from Newport, and we made the decision to go out this year in the spring. So my son will not be the seventh generation on our farm.
5 of my customers have committed suicide. That's how serious that this is.
Today, Arkansas farmers gathered to share their struggles with staffers from the state's congressional delegation, pleading for Arkansas lawmakers on Capitol Hill and the governor to convince President Trump to provide emergency funding to help them make it to next year.
We have to have ad hoc payments right now to make it through this year.
If there's no emergency funding this year, there will be 1 out of 3 farmers will file bankruptcy.
Until the federal government steps in to save them, farmers have no one to turn to but God.
Farmers, in my opinion, dear Lord, and it's only my opinion, are closer to thee than anyone else on this earth because we deal with your earth every day. Dear Lord, we're hurting, dear Lord. We can't help what's happened to us.
So yeah, that does not look good. Not at all. And so in there, they were talking about weather being a big factor. So look for that as well as all the other pressures that are facing farmers to produce food. I mean, hopefully these farmers get bailed out, or maybe this is just easy pickings for, getting these farmers to give up and having like corporate big ag or big food come in and buy these farms up. I don't know. Yep. Indian farmers were put under the same kind of pressures. Oh, it's got to be really tough to be a farmer. Blame it on Secretary of Agriculture Earl Butts. Go big or get out. Thanks, Tor, for the support on Ko-Fi. Appreciate you, man. It's always helpful to end the week on a high note. You guys have been this whole week has been pretty consistent as far as support goes. So thank you guys for all the support you've been giving me. By the way, I almost forgot to tell you, I released a song today, and it is on Bandcamp, but it's not at sandbloom.com or .bandcamp. Let me drop a link for you. It's a new project I'm working on that is under the name Matador, but the first A is a 4, just to keep it interesting. So if you want to go to that link and go check out, there's a song that I just released today. And hopefully y'all enjoy it. I'll try and drop it in the other chats. Let's see. And let's do X. Let's do X. That doesn't sound right. Sorry. Oh, are there no chats on X? There's no chats on X. Or maybe not. Maybe there is a chat on X. Oh, hey, what's up? Beauty and the Boomer. Kevin, why do you try so hard to cheer us up on Friday? Sorry, I'm not reading the chats on. I'm not really getting these chats on StreamYard, so I apologize, Oz, if that's you. Sorry, man. For whatever reason, they're not showing my X chats in the stream here, so I'm not seeing you guys. My apologies, big time. So I just came over to check these chats. So what's up? We are so screwed. Yeah, basically. I'll drop the link there in the chats on X. My apologies. I'm sorry. That really kind of sucks. I should have all these chats up. I really should. What else are we talking about? Oh man, how did it get so late in the show? Google. Let me try and get quickly through these other stories that I wanted to talk about. Google has a deal with Israel to spread propaganda. So I don't know what that means for my channel or for other channels. Oh, thanks, Gregory. I appreciate it. Denver, thanks. Google has a deal with Israel to spread propaganda, and I don't know, that doesn't really bode well. I think it's Google and YouTube because they own YouTube. Doesn't bode very well for the future of being able to say things on social media, right? When this behemoth controls is controlled by the dollar bill and the Zionist dollar bill. Google signed a $45 million contract with the Israeli Prime Minister's office to run a global digital advertising campaign promoting Israeli state messaging. Whoa. I feel like a part of me feels like they don't need. All right, thanks, Reflect the Sun. Appreciate it. Kate, thanks. Thank you. Word up. Let me know if you have any problems with that, Kate. I'm not sure. I think I set it up correctly to do sales, but it could be, I don't know. They're acting kind of glitchy, Bandcamp. So let me know if it works out. Contract first reported by DropSite News includes advertisement placed on YouTube and through Google's Display and Video 360 platform explicitly described in government documents as part of Israel's propaganda war. Okay. Authorized an extensive, let me see, the company's digital ad service authorized an extensive propaganda campaign labeled explicitly as Hasbara, a Hebrew term denoting state-backed propaganda, often deployed to whitewash Israeli military actions. Well, how do you think that's going to go over? Oh, look at this. As part of it, so this does affect other social media platforms. As part of the broader campaign, Israel also spent $3 million with X, 2.1 million with French Israeli platform Outbrain, and an undisclosed amount promoting Israeli aligned content across Meta's platform, IG, Threads, Facebook. Wow. Super cool. Yeah. I guess where did my Rumble chat go? Now I got to keep all these chats open, for crying out loud. I can't see any of them. So yeah, Google is assisting in genocide for money. So just like the rest of our government and, corporate strata. Pretty much in league with them. Just like all the corporations were in league with Hitler. Same stuff. Prescott Bush sanctioned for doing business with Germany with Nazi Germany. You just bought it and you used PayPal and it worked? Yes. Awesome. Thanks, Kate. I appreciate you. Right on. I don't even know. Let's see. Yes. I didn't get a notification, but we'll see. Probably get it on. I'm trying to get away from this old email I have, and for crying out loud, it's just really hard. Because my PayPal is thank you, Kate. I got it. Thanks so much. On top of that, I've got 2 other singles coming out in the next, week or 2. So there will be a stream of new songs coming through the gate in the next couple days. So I'll let you guys know. Good place to follow me for music stuff is either YouTube at kevinsandbloom or Instagram at kevinsandbloom. That is where I do put up a lot of. Instagram is usually first. So if you want to follow my music stuff, just follow me at the Instagram there. I usually do Instagram first and then YouTube a little bit later. You already downloaded new song, placed it in my collection, so I'll use it for my show. Awesome, Kate. Awesome. Thank you. Word up. All right. Cool, Google. So awesome. Let's see. My God, there's just so much going on. On top of all that, I don't know. I want to have a discussion. Maybe I can get Denver and Bella to have a discussion with me around. Denver, you're familiar with Sabrina Wallace. Just a quick question. What do you think? What do you think about her work? I don't know if Bella's very familiar with Sabrina Wallace. I find her fascinating. Sometimes I do feel like I don't know what I'm listening to, but she has the tendency to back up her words with, footnotes. and right, like, you know, she has links and articles and data to back up what she's saying. So it's like, you know, it's like listening to somebody and you're like, is this person out of their minds? And then she, you know, goes through and like kind of links everything she's saying to like actual studies and data, and you're like, oh my God. So it's a little bit crazy making to actually listen to her, for me, just a little bit. But I find her fascinating, so I've been listening to a lot of Sabrina Wallace stuff lately. It is mind blowing, man. It's mind blowing. I think it'd be interesting to have. I'll hit Bella up. Maybe we could have a discussion about Sabrina Wallace one day, or the stuff that she's covering, because it's way out there, but it's also, and it's way out there, but it's also something that people should be aware of, if it's, you know, right, if these things are actually in play. Like, you know, I think people should probably be up on it, you know. I don't know. I'll hit you guys up later. There, if she is correct, I think it suggests the world is very different than what we are shown. Yeah. I mean, she's suggesting that things are, that we have been like biologically, or, you know, energetically manipulated for a while, which I wouldn't, you know, I don't, you know, that again would not surprise me. Biohacked, biofield hacked. Yeah. It wouldn't surprise me. It would actually explain. Although I think there's enough hacking going on with propaganda. You know, propaganda is pretty effective. So, you know, like the explanation of like why sickness as a result of hacked biofield, that also is incredibly interesting. And you wonder, like, when you see people that are targeted by the state, you know, or could be targeted by the state, and all of a sudden they develop some kind of turbo cancer or a heart attack, or they mysteriously pass away, they die in their sleep, or they, you know, they go down really quickly. You got to wonder, like, well, how'd they do that? It's scary stuff. Anyways, we'll I just had to push that in there because I have been listening to a lot of her stuff, and it's mind blowing. It is mind blowing. They're talking about taking down Maduro, like really actually going after Maduro, like in an international court of law. This is getting very serious. However, Marco Rubio's brother-in-law was a prolific cocaine trafficker. Right? So it's okay for them to do this stuff. It's you know, but they use it to deport people, go after people, put people in jail, whatever. Apparently the reports of the fishing boat that was bombed the other day was that it was just a fishing boat. At least that's the intelligence that people are getting around it, is that it wasn't even a it was not drug dealers or filled with drugs. They just made that shit up. Kind of like October 7th. Yeah. Venezuela was successfully shooting down U.S. chartered planes. Oh, you mean what, Air America or whatever it's called? U.S. chartered planes moving drugs over their airspace in 2020. Yeah, I don't doubt that. What is it called? What's the agency or the airline that's run by the CIA? I think there's a couple names for it. Let's see. I want to hit this before I try to do some other. Here's Jimmy Dore talking about, kind of saying what everybody knows. This is not like a new idea or new information. He's just putting it all together. Let's listen.
As soon as you find out that Venezuela has more oil than Saudi Arabia, you know why Donald Trump tried to overthrow Venezuela in his first term, why the United States government has been trying to overthrow them for 30 years, and why he's trying to do it again. And he's doing it under the guise of fighting drugs. Here's what he said.
When you come out and when you leave the room, you'll see that we just, over the last few minutes, literally shot out a boat, a drug-carrying boat, a lot of drugs in that boat. And you'll be seeing that and you'll be reading about that. It just happened moments ago. And we have a lot of drugs pouring into our country, coming in for a long time. And we just, these came out of Venezuela. And coming out very heavily from Venezuela. A lot of things are coming out of Venezuela. So
yeah, oil.
We took it out, and you'll get to see that after this meeting is over.
So I'm going to show you why that's a lie, what he's saying about the drugs coming out of Venezuela. But first, I'm going to show you the real reason that Donald Trump and every president has been trying to overthrow Venezuela. And here he is going to admit it. Donald Trump admits it. What it's all about. They want to steal their oil.
How about we're buying oil from Venezuela? When I left, Venezuela was ready to collapse. We would have taken it over. We would have gotten all that oil. It would have been right next door.
So that's why they put economic sanctions on Venezuela. That's why they want to get rid of Maduro. It's because they want to steal their natural resources. The same reason we overthrew Iran. The same reason we did Iraq. The same reason we did Libya. It's always the same goddamn reason. Donald Trump left troops in Syria. Why? For the oil. And how do I know that? He said so.
Yeah, he did.
And here's why what he said about the drugs coming out of Venezuela isn't true. For reference, this is a picture showing actual data about drug routes from the U.S. government themselves. Note how Venezuela is indeed the place where drugs do not flow to the USA. Once again, this is according to the U.S. own official data. Let me put it. It's not coming. Here's Venezuela. Drugs are not coming from Venezuela to the United States, ladies and gentlemen. Latin America narcotics connection, maritime trafficking. This is Venezuela. This is where the drugs are coming from. That's August 31st, 2025. This is their own data. This is Venezuela. This is where the drugs are coming from. So the drug cartel state is actually Ecuador, but it's a U.S. vassal, so who cares? Huh. Declassified video showing the U.S. committed a war crime when it fired on a civilian vessel near Venezuela. Being suspected of carrying drugs does not carry a death sentence, and certainly not one without due process. So there's this boat that they say was carrying, look at this boat. This is the boat they said that they blew up because it was carrying drugs. You see how tiny that boat? I thought it was going to be like a giant ship. It's a literal little boat. The difference between a boat and a ship. That's a boat. And they say, oh, it was full of drugs.
Just so much drugs.
And by the way, they say that
right.
Anyway, Justin Amash, he says Congress has not authorized military hostilities against Venezuela. There's no exception permitting unilateral action because it's drugs or terrorism or a designated organization. The peace president strikes again. Here it is from the AP. Trump says U.S. strike on vessel in Caribbean targeted Venezuela's Tren de Agua gang and killed 11 people. Well, guess what? Former Philippine President Duterte is in custody in The Hague right now. Why? Because he's being charged by the International Criminal Court for ordering the summary execution of alleged drug traffickers. Trump just ordered the summary execution of 11 alleged
You think Trump is going to go to The Hague?
traffickers.
Okay. In a wild addendum to this story, remember when there was like a SEAL team that was caught trying to get into Venezuela during Trump's first term. I don't know if they were all SEAL. It was like mercenaries and maybe some ex-SEAL team guys. And they were caught. And it was very embarrassing. Here is a crazy story. And this also, I believe, happened during Trump's first term. This story is wild. Trump sent SEAL Team 6 into North Korea to plant a listening device. The operation went sideways within minutes when a fishing boat, another fishing boat, was unexpectedly at the landing site. SEAL Team 6, listen to this story. SEAL Team 6 killed everyone on board, sunk the bodies, and fled. Congress was never told. My God, it's just war crime on war crime on war crime. Can we get Trump to the Hague? Trump, I'm sorry, bro. You got to go to the Hague. I know you think that like you're president and stuff and like you're really, no, dude. I think that 10 or 12 million Americans need to show up and lift your ass out of the White House and take you to the Hague. I think that's what needs to happen. You and, everybody else in your crew need to go to the Hague immediately. Jesus. Yeah, Denver. The same SEAL Team 6. Listen to this is crazy. If the SEALs were unsure whether the mission had been compromised before they fired, they had no doubt afterward. The plan required the SEALs to abort immediately if they encountered anyone. North Korean security forces could be coming. There was no time to plant the device. The shore team swam to the boat to make sure that all the North Koreans were dead. They found no guns or uniforms. These were just innocent fishermen. Evidence suggested that the crew, which people briefed on the mission, said number 2 or 3 people had been civilians diving for shellfish. All were dead, including the man in the water. Officials familiar with the mission said the SEALs pulled the bodies into the water to hide them from the North Korean authorities. One added that the SEALs punctured the boat crew's lungs with knives to make sure their bodies would sink. My God. Yeah, screw Bernie Sanders and his dopey lying dumbass. That's insane. That is absolutely insane. What the hell is going on with SEAL Team 6? Yes, in Denver, right. Tie them into the whole Osama bin Laden thing. I mean, we don't even know how much of that story is true. But I'm pretty sure that all those guys ended up dying. Which sucks for them. Kind of sucks to be in a Navy SEAL these days. Like that would absolutely not be a job that I wanted to sign up for. Well, I think being a SEAL team is great. Dude, you're going to get sent on the most dumbass missions, the most retarded missions ever. And then you might actually get killed to cover it all up. Like why would you sign up for that? Ridiculous. Osama, yo mama. What's up, Bella? Yemen defeated Trump, so Trump can only sink fishermen now. That story is crazy. Holy shit. That is nuts. You'd think maybe that would sink Trump? Can't, where are the war crime charges for that? Where are the unauthorized use? What? Nope. I guess not. I guess it doesn't matter. I guess none of these things matter. I guess that's just how we do. I don't understand, man. Absolutely insane. in the membrane. No, sir, I don't get it. I don't get it. So what happened when Obama embarrassed Trump at the journalist dinner? Yeah. A rail of Cheeto dust. Say what? Earl of Laurel? Where do you see all this stuff at? Black snakes, bears, and turtles? In one day? Where are you at? Wow. I'm actually just floored by that story, how horrific that is. Oh man, I have a bunch of other stories. Well, let's go a little bit longer today then, I guess. Since it is Friday, I'd like to get through a couple of things. If you guys want to hang out for a little longer, if you can't, that's cool too. Melania Trump is hosting a AI symposium at the White House.
Through our cities, robots hold steady hands in the operating room.
About robots. This is the symposium on first generation humanoids. Appalachia. Okay. Nice.
Drones are redefining the future of war. Innovations of first-generation humanoids, factory automation, and autonomous vehicles have surged from private sector investment. Every one of these advancements is powered by AI. Through our cities, robots hold steady hands in the operating room.
Yeah, okay.
And drones are redefining the future.
Weirdo. Let's listen to this. This is Ronan Farrow talking about the ICE contract for the Israeli spyware that can hack phones that we talked about the other day. He gives a good overview of what's going on in here. Here we go.
Imagine spyware that can break into your phone without you clicking a link or a file or doing anything at all. Just getting a message can be enough. Once your phone is infected,
That's messed up. Just getting a message. All they got to do is just send you a message. Screwed. Graphite. Yeah, that's right.
Your data, even messages on encrypted apps, can be read and copied. That kind of spyware, using what's called zero-click exploits, is a reality. In fact, it's a booming multi-billion-dollar industry. I'm Ronan Farrow. I've reported on spyware for years. Let me tell you about the newest US government contract to buy this kind of tech and why watchdog groups are alarmed. The spyware is called Graphite, a tool from an Israeli company, Paragon Solutions, founded by a former prime minister and military intelligence veterans. Earlier this year, Apple had to rush out an emergency patch after investigators at the Canadian watchdog group Citizen Lab found graphite had been used in Europe to hack journalists. Also this year, WhatsApp warned nearly 90 people worldwide they'd been hacked. In 2024, I was one of several reporters that looked at how ICE had quietly signed a $2 million contract with Paragon, reportedly to use graphite. That work was paused by the Biden administration over human rights concerns. But just days ago, the Trump administration lifted the pause. Now, sometimes I hear people argue, if I have nothing to hide, why should I worry about this? Well, because spyware has a long history of being used to target journalists, activists, and political opposition members. Innocent bystanders sometimes get their sensitive data swept up too. Watchdog groups have even repeatedly linked spyware to acts of violence. I have sources around this company, Paragon. They claim their tech is less intrusive than competing solutions, and they say they're just selling law enforcement tools to governments and trying to minimize abuses. Paragon even told Arets that it actually cut ties with the Italian government after it failed to investigate Citizen Lab's findings. But the truth is, sensitive surveillance tools rarely stay limited to their intended targets. I have heard so many big spyware companies claim to me that their tech can be restricted to legitimate use. And time again, we see those same tools abused. In practice, spyware chills free speech, discourages whistleblowers, makes journalists and even everyday people think twice before speaking out, especially when we have no transparency about how a government will or won't use it. Civil liberties groups like the Electronic Frontier Foundation and the Center for Democracy and Technology are warning. Giving ICE, an agency already accused of due process abuses, access to military-grade spyware could mean surveillance of immigrants, activists, and journalists here at home. You can check out more of my reporting on the spyware industry in The New Yorker, or watch my film about it, Surveilled, on HBO. And if you want oversight and safeguards on how this technology is used, you can contact your political representatives.
Speaking of spyware and evil, here's Tim Dillon talking about Peter Thiel. Y'all saw the news that Peter Thiel was doing a little talk on the Antichrist. This is just bizarre. Peter Thiel's TED talk on the Antichrist. He did get that sweater from 1978. It's rocking. Okay, let's listen to this. It's funny.
It's what bothers people about this Palantir thing.
Yeah, we were talking about that yesterday.
Yeah,
the Palantir thing is very odd.
Well, Peter Thiel's giving a 4-part lecture on the Antichrist. This is like me doing a 4-part lecture on Long Island racism. Just to show everybody, how much I know about it and how scary it is and how we got to watch out for it. But it's totally not me or anyone I know. It's so strange to have this. You build military AI, military drone, autonomous drone technology to export to war zones all over the world. You build domestic surveillance technology to surveil our friends and neighbors. And then your other pet passion is the Antichrist. It's odd. Wouldn't you include tennis? Wouldn't you go, and I'm big into tennis? Something else. It's odd. And I like ice fishing. I build autonomous drone technology. I build domestic surveillance technology.
And I love lake trout.
And I love lake trout. And I love big mouth bass fishing.
Yeah.
But instead he goes, and I've also developed quite a keen interest in Satan. And I'd love to.
Okay, that was mildly funny and true. Here's David Icke saying, I said that Trump was put in power to front up the AI oligarch takeover of society with artificial intelligence, and that's exactly what he's doing. With the oligarchs driving the policy and direction. All the oligarchs that they always talk about in the Democratic Party, or the Bernie Sanders likes to go on and on about. The ones that they're never going to stand in front of and say, no, sir, none shall pass, or you've gone far enough, or that's enough, or we've had enough, or you've gone quite far enough. Any one of those things that they could say. Stop right there. I don't know. It's absolutely what's happening, and there just doesn't seem to be any way to stop it. At least nobody's come up with a really great idea. I mean, there's people out there trying to figure out ways to get away from it and get out of it. I follow some interesting kind of tech people on Instagram and in other places talking about various ways to remove yourself or try to remove yourself or distance yourself from the panopticon, the coming panopticon. That's true. Yep. Denver. Yep. Are you talking about David Icke and the lizard people? Yeah. Well, lizard people aside, he's a keen political observer. And so I like his takes on that. Here are many at the White House dinner yesterday, including Trump AI czar David Sachs, Meta founder Mark Zuckerberg, Apple CEO Tim Cook, Microsoft founder Bill Gates, OpenAI founder. Man, it's a conference. It's with Lucifer and all his minions. Google CEO Sundar Pichai, Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella. Clear your mind of all the diversions, and this is the thrust of the whole Trump regime, installing the AI control system on every level. He's just the guy to do it. Is that yes? Hecklefish. That's how he would do it. Hey, lizard people. And then here's hat tip to Brax. Yeah. James Lee. And he has this new show with this co-host. I don't know her name, and I'm sorry about that. But they're talking about how Peter Thiel is working on replacing Trump. That would be fine for him because he funded JD Vance's unlikely incursion into the vice presidency. Wi-Files just dropped a Majestic 12 video. Oh, shoot. All right. Have to go check that. Let's listen to this.
If you love President Trump, then you should be aware that Peter Thiel is trying
He
to
looks
replace
really
him.
scary.
If there is some sort of a conspiracy to get JD in, because remember, JD was the never Trump guy.
I'm a never Trump guy. I never liked him. I think there's a chance if I feel like Trump has a really good chance of winning, that I might have to hold my nose and vote for Hillary Clinton.
And all of a sudden, he's the VP pick.
And also, it is weird that he has changed his name 3 times. And, I was talking to ChatGPT. We have a love-hate relationship. Sometimes she lies. Sometimes she tells the truth. But I was asking her if this is something that like an FBI profiler would expect of a spy.
Well, it seems like everything about him has been somewhat fabricated
And
a little bit.
disingenuous. Is the
Described-
Hillbilly Elegy
Yeah.
movie accurately describing that he needed a T1 calculator and grandma had to go sell her shoes to buy it?
I don't think that's true.
You know what I mean?
And
Like,
that
it would
people
just
in poverty
make
don't go to
sense
Yale.
that if Peter Thiel is involved with these different governments, the United States and Israel, and they both want a surveillance state, what better person than JD Vance, Peter Thiel's mentee, to go in? Oh, Trump's old. We knew he's old. He's done a great job. But now all of a sudden, his left arm goes out. He got a stroke. And then JD, I'm coming in.
Okay. That is also not necessarily new subject matter, or I think lots and lots of people have discussed that. Here's a Jewish writer talking about how thousands of civilian Jews/Israelis are doing spy work for the Mossad. It's interesting, called the Sayanim.
The Sayanim are tens of thousands of people, Jews, Zionists, who are members probably of the Bnei Brit, for instance. Bnei Brit is the Jewish Masonry, who occupy high level in all the societies. I mean, you can imagine 5,000 Sayanim in New York, only in the business area. 5,000 Sayanim in Los Angeles, in the production area, in the artistic area, and you can in France, in London, you can imagine 1,000 Sayanim in the medias.
Basically, Denver.
You
Yeah.
can imagine, and they receive orders from the Mossad, from a department of the Mossad called the War Department, and they work for the Mossad. It means that all these people who have their work, who work normally, they are citizens. I mean, they work in a bank, they are political, they are publishers. But when the Mossad call them and tell them, look, I need an information. I need, for instance, I need that all the Sayanim in all over the world say that this person,
It's a myth,
for instance,
by
the
the way.
Secretary General of the
Trying to let
United
you know
Nations,
it's all made up.
has said something anti-Semitic. And you see,
Ghislaine is just, she's just kind of an aristocrat that got caught up with the wrong people, but mostly she's framed. She's just a nice lady. She's not affiliated with Mossad, nor is Epstein, nor was her father. No, there's nothing untoward going on. It's a myth. This thing has legs. And it's all based on lies. That's what Michael Tracy wants you to know. He's out there doing intrepid work. Hooey.
all over the world, in Europe, in New York, the medias, you have the impression, when I discovered that, I understood. It's like when you light the light on, because suddenly you open a newspaper, you listen to a radio, you hear a politician, everybody says the Secretary General of the United States said something anti-Semitic. The poor guy, and why? Because the Mossad gave the order to do that. And I can say, for instance, the example of Gilad Shalit, the Israeli soldier kidnapped by the Hamas. In 24 hours, his name was known all over the world. Even if it was an American general who was kidnapped, his name would never have been mentioned. Gilad Shalit, in 24 hours, became a celebrity in the universe. And this is the work of the Sayanim.
Interesting. Yeah, extra bullet. Somebody was saying that Michael Tracy is looking like, is starting to look like somebody who might be into something weird in the closet. I don't know, or maybe he's always looked that way. I know that's mean. Lastly, there was depleted uranium found in the aftermath of the Syrian bombing by Israel earlier this year. Said this months ago, or was it earlier this year, or was it longer than that ago? I don't know. My sense of time is a little fuzzy right now. I said this months ago. Yeah, maybe it's not a nuke, but it's still nuclear warfare. The radioactive dust contaminates air and water. People living there get cancers and birth defects. Israel literally poisoned generations of Syrians by doing this. The IAEA discovers traces of depleted uranium at Syrian sites bombed by Israel. My God. It's pretty crazy looking at explosion. I just, how does the depleted uranium thing fit in with the nukes are fake people, and that they're fun with that idea? I just don't get it. They have detected traces of uranium in Syria during inspections of the site. Oh, of a site 2007. Of a site Israel destroyed in 2007, according to a confidential report circulated to member states on September 1st. The samples taken last year from one of three unnamed sites allegedly functionally related to the Deir Azor contained a large quantity of natural uranium particles. It explained that the particles were of anthropogenic origin, meaning they were not enriched, they had undergone chemical processing. The report said Syrian authorities told inspectors they had no information that might explain the presence of such uranium particles, while confirming that the current government granted the IAEA renewed access to the site in June to collect further samples. The report states that Syria agreed to cooperate with the agency through full transparency to address Syria's past nuclear activities. The IAEA's report comes amid wider concerns over Israel's use of uranium-based weapons in other West Asian theaters. Documented abnormal uranium residues across West Asia in the aftermath of U.S. and Israeli bombardments. What about the U.S.? Doesn't Israel get most of its bombs from the U.S.? Yeah, Kate. That's interesting. Exactly. Gregory. Depleted uranium is found in U.S. Yeah, they're talking about Israel, like Israel's doing this, but wait, Israel got their weapons from us. Why aren't they talking about the U.S. doing this? Wild. Further, let's see. Oh, whoa. In 2021, a study published in Nature reported a marked rise in uranium enrichment levels in Gaza's environment since 2008. Researchers concluded that enriched uranium, a substance that does not occur in nature, must have originated from weapons deployed by the U.S. in Iraq and Israel in Lebanon and Gaza. Boom, boom, boom. Literally. Further reports reinforce these findings. In October 2024, Lebanese health official Raif Rida said Israel bombed Beirut's southern neighbors or suburbs with uranium-based munitions and urged that samples be sent to the UN for investigation of more war crimes by the United States. Lebanese outlets noted that the use of Blue 109 missiles whose casings could contain depleted uranium In June 2025, Far's news agency reported that Israeli bombs dropped on Iran during the 12-day war left debris showing preliminary signs of depleted uranium. My God. There is no need to use depleted uranium or uranium tampers in nuclear weapons. Uranium only permanently destroys a region not even suitable for colonization. Okay. Oh yeah, Denver. Yeah. I remember that. It totally looked like it got that explosion was wild. Yeah, I think anybody who watched that explosion was like, yeah, I don't know if that was fertilizer. You're trying to tell me that this was just a warehouse accident. Yeah, I don't know about that. Yeah, no, I do remember that. It was a few years ago. Probably like 3 years ago. And the blast zone from that must have been, it was pretty large. I wonder how long it took to recover from that. All right, guys, I have to sign off now. Thank you so much for hanging out and hanging in. And I hope that you enjoy your weekend. I will see you. I'm not going to go watch a friend play, but I may also actually end up playing some music this weekend. So that's what I'm getting into. And I will see you on Monday. Y'all enjoy yourself. And until next time, beware the bear.